Hi everyone, this is Striker, and welcome to episode number 9 of my Redout Advanced Strategy Guide series. In this video, I will be taking a look at my former world record lap on the Mariner track of the Mars location. This is, in my opinion, one of the most stunning tracks in the game from an aesthetic point of view, so let's watch and enjoy this lap and then break down the footage. Now, I find Mariner to be a very interesting track in the way it slots into the general flow of Redout's mechanics. Lots of tracks in Redout that are longer tend to prioritize long straightaways and the maintenance of speed around gradual corners. But what I feel separates Mariner is its reliance on executing very precise wall bounces at specific points to maintain your speed prior to these straightaways. As we approach the final loop into the starting grid, make sure that we are hitting our micro boosts to build up as much speed as we can. You'll also notice that I'm slightly counter strafing towards the right. It's not very significant because of the loop angle, but regardless, I do want to try to hit that speed as high as possible. Now, when it comes to where you should turbo boost prior to the starting line, I have found that it works pretty well if we use the change in track texture here as our visual guide to hit our first turbo. So watch as I come down this gradient, I cross the texture, and I immediately hit my turbo boost. That does two things. That gives us enough forward momentum to achieve a fast start through this lap, but it also allows us to carry the speed while recharging so I can hit my second boost coming around the first corner. If you try and turbo boost immediately at the starting line, you're going to be delayed on that second boost. If you boost a little bit too early, let's say we boosted over here, yes, you would have a faster second turbo, but we're not getting all the speed that we can as we come through this initial start. We also want to make sure that we are scraping very closely to this wall so we don't create too much steering here and lose velocity. Now, as I position myself for the second turn, I want to hug this corner relatively close. I don't want to let the ship flail out. Any flail here is going to lose you about 1/10 to 2/10 of time, and that's going to make a significant dent in your ability to achieve a clean lap. You can see already here, I'm 0.83 behind, and that was with a little bit of a flail and a close turn. So if you turn incorrectly and you're really wide here, you'll have no hope for a top lap. After I hit this turbo boost, I'm going to perform a little bit of a left counter strafe. See how I'm strafing in this direction here while moving in that forward velocity towards the loop. I keep that loop as my visual guide here. So as I cross here, I look. Now I cannot see the upcoming turn, but I can see this loop. I'm watching the loop to make sure my ship stays in the middle. Once I do this here, now I'm going to start the drift pattern because I want to achieve a clean wall bounce off of the right. If I do this properly, I hopefully did not lose too much speed. I can stay pretty close to this left side barrier and then hit my next turbo boost. Once I do this, I'm going to try to snake back close to this wall and then exit through the checkpoint marker relatively straight. I had a wall collision here on the left side. That little bit of a reorientation did lose me some speed, so you can see I'm about 1/10 of a second already behind previous runs on this time trial. Now I want to drift very hard here as I get to this corner. It's very possible to take this tighter and to bounce more here, and that's going to cut off a little bit more turn angle. But at least I got a clean enough bounce where I was able to maintain some speed before this little right to left chicane. Now once I come over that wall here, there are 3 turbo boost spots, and I remember as I was getting better at this track, I found it almost impossible to hit the 3rd boost pad and still make my way through the loop without touching walls. But what I found is if we hit the first 2 cleanly and then cut the right edge of the 3rd boost pad, we can quickly create the left side slant and turbo boost where it looks like I'm going to contact the left side barrier, but actually scrape right through it. If we hit this correctly, you may even be able to take the entire loop without hitting either wall. I had a little bit of a wall collision there, as you can see right here, and that did deduct some time that was possible. But watch it again as we hit through. We try to drive relatively cleanly, and then we exit off our next blind drop. Once we get to here now, I want you to pitch down. When I was learning this track, and even in my first world record a few months back, I thought it best to pull slightly up and land over here. So cut the entire down to up slope. Here's the problem that I encountered though. Because there's such a sharp upward slope and turn here, you lose a lot of speed if you try to cut the gap and land. So what I do is I pitch to build speed to about 1200, land and hope that that speed then carries me into the next corner. Those of you who are very eagle-eyed may have noticed that I did clip that left side barrier. That was another incidental wall bounce. Luckily, it still led me to a good position for my next wall tap here, and this one is especially critical for achieving a good time. If you clip this wall too harshly right over here, you'll lose a lot of speed in an area of the track where it's hard to rebuild it. So I want a very clean, consistent bounce, and then I'm looking immediately to cut down the angle of this turn. So I'm not looking at, if you see my mouse, I'm not looking at this turn in this way. I'm looking at here, and I'm trying to cut through that barrier. Once I achieve that angle, I hit my turbo boost and I'm on my way. Now, you've noticed that there are a lot of blind drops in this track, and learning a lot of these intricacies will just be a matter of repetition. So what I want you to use as your visual reference when we're coming across this drop, see this building over here? That is your guide. So if we just position your ship towards the building, you will achieve an efficient drop that will keep you pretty close to the left side barrier and make this next turn a little bit easier. I could have been a little bit closer to the left barrier there, but regardless, I did not do this too poorly in this particular lap. Now this wall bounce right here, it looks easy, and I've talked about this concept in other tracks where wall bounces where the actual barrier slopes outward tend to be the ones that are taken the most cleanly. That's not the case here. This bounce can really impact your speed, and that's especially detrimental when we consider that the upcoming slope goes straight up in the air and throws you off a jump where you are then fighting against gravity. If we do this cleanly, I want you to then hit your turbo boost and fly up the jump. If you do it incorrectly, let's just restart this lap. Once I come off of the jump here, I slightly pitch down. And that is because the track here is a little bit lower than the direction of my ship. So I create a slight pitch down right there, and then I can very cleanly land on the track, and then prepare for yet another imperative wall bounce to the right side here. To get the best wall bounce coming across this corner, you need to stay very, very close to the left side barrier as you're drifting across. I did that pretty well here, and that leads me to bounce, create a right side counter strafe, and aim to start contacting to the right edge of this boost pad. Once I contact the boost pad there, now I'm positioning myself for the most difficult part of the track, and that is this really large deceptive jump cut. So let me just freeze forward a little bit. You can see the natural inclination of the track is to go straight and then eventually slope. There's a better angle. So it goes down straight and then eventually turns to the left. And most novice pilots will land in this part of the track and then make the turn. But I have found it's possible to fly very high in the air, hit my turbo boost, and start to create my turn in the air to cut right across that essential segment. As you see towards my landing, we can start to see the kill plane encroaching. Unfortunately, it is not possible to land over here into the loop. We need to cut this landing just beyond the point of that turn apex. Now, when I set up for this, the way I do that in terms of reference is I start to look at this building. Once I have that building in my vision, I aim for the back corner of the building. So even as I make my turn, look at the front of the ship now, right to the back corner of the building, and that usually allows me to land efficiently. Once you do this, try to use your strafe to adjust angle rather than your steering. After I hit this boost here, now what I'm going to want to do is position very close to the right side here, which kind of fits you in a groove that allows you a later wall tap. Did not do it too great there, but luckily I was able to maintain a lot of speed. And once I get to here, now I'm going to hit one more turbo boost through this loop. At higher speeds, this segment actually becomes easier to control, but you can see how much the track oscillates back and forth. So you can see it goes a little bit to the left, then it goes a little bit to the right, then it goes a little bit to the left again. If you can maintain a high speed, just repetitively strafe back and forth to keep your ship in the middle. Once we get to the end of the loop, now it actually starts to physically turn to the right, where we will need to make an adjustment. Try to make that adjustment with as little steering as possible, and make sure that we hit that particular boost pad. Once we do this, we're pretty much home free. Just watch for this little bit of a deceptive border here on the left side so we don't crash and ruin a great lap. But from here, I'm going to start my right counter strafing and hit one more turbo boost and fly through the finish. So that's Mariner for you. If I want to go back and review this lap in its entirety for how could I improve and how did the current world record holder do this better than me by 1/10 of a second, well, here's what we're looking at. Number one, time this boost efficiently so we can keep our speed, but build up the recharge meter for the second one here. Take that turn a little bit closer where I don't flail out like I did just there. The wall bounces in this particular lap were pretty clean. You want to make sure those are still accounted for. That turn could definitely be taken closer, with a little bit of less squiggliness in the steering there. This was pretty good though, staying relatively consistent on the loop and not contacting this left side wall. That's going to also add up. Keeping a little bit closer to the left side of the box there, Nice bounce and boost there, though. That was really good. Here's another really good turn. Try to mimic that in your own laps. And I have done this particular jump a little bit better, but this wasn't bad. And just make sure we stay consistent here and not oversteer. Here's where strafing becomes really important. Just to kind of keep the forward momentum of the ship and not introduce any sideways variables. So anyway, I hope this helps you in learning your own strategies for the Mariner track, and I look forward to bringing you even more advanced strategies and maybe some surprises in future videos. Thank you so much.